Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. If we could please sing together. This land is your land. So let's all stand. The kids will love this one.
That's a nice, energetic way to get started this morning. Welcome, everyone, to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we like to say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. We also like to welcome all of you to this space each Sunday, all that you bring with you, your unique beliefs, background, lifestyle, experiences, differences, all that helps make you who you are. And this includes those of you who might join us regularly, as well as those who might be visiting with us for the first time or joining us more recently, and the many of you who are live streaming with us this morning as well. It's great to have everyone. So welcome to one and all. I've got one reminder for you this morning, and that is that next Sunday will be our Thanksgiving potluck, our annual Thanksgiving potluck. How many years, Candace, you started this? How many years have we been doing this now? Is this the fourth year? The fourth year? So it's annual now. We've been doing it for 4 years. And the church, if you will be kind enough to bring a dish and a dessert to share, the church will provide the turkey. And I've been asked not to mention any names. So we're not sure who that's going to be, but the turkey will be here, okay? That one fell almost as flat as the first. First service, I was like, no jokes about your minister, please. And it was like, what's that mean? No turkey jokes. Anyway, looking forward to that next Sunday, so please be here for that if you can. And that is all I have as far as announcements this morning, so why don't we take a few extra seconds this morning to greet one another. Okay, as always, there's more opportunity to visit during social hour, so stay around after our service for that. There will be coffee and tea available in the back of the room, so we look forward to that. But let's move forward now by lighting our chalice, which is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness, inclusion of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
This morning's opening words are from Melody Beatty. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend.
Let's all stand together and sing, "Our World is One World."
We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those most on our thoughts and minds, and begin as we have been for far too long on behalf of the people of Ukraine and Russia and that region of the world suffering from the war and violence there, the people of Palestine and Israel and that region of the world suffering similarly, the people of Darfur and South Sudan suffering from war and ethnic violence there. I could go on and on. I mean, I'm feeling really concerned about Venezuela these days as well. So without turning this into a newscast, I want to mention as many as I can. I realize there are a lot that will go unmentioned, and I do want to include, as we have been as well, the many immigrants in our country, people who look like immigrants, whatever that means, who are also living in fear these days. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you wish. those named aloud, those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. This is the third Sunday of the month, a Sunday in which we usually take up a special collection on behalf of an organization that we have some kinship with. And this month's special collection is on behalf of the Salish School of Spokane, a grassroots nonprofit organization working to preserve and revitalize Southern Interior Salish languages, the first languages of the Spokane region, as all Salish languages are critically endangered. Under the leadership of co-founder and executive director Lorraine Wiley, who has been a frequent guest speaker at our church, so I think a lot of you are already familiar with this organization. Lorraine says that the school has been empowering adults to learn Salish so that they can teach it to their children and pass it on to the next generations. But just as importantly, a return to the languages has also led to a resurgence of traditional cultural practices, such as gathering food, making medicine, winter dancing, those sort of things. So it's a very worthy cause, and one I know that we will want to continue to support. As always, if you'd like to contribute to this special collection, you can do so by using the special collection envelope I hope was in your order of service. No need to seal it. You can we'll reuse it, or you can send a check at your convenience if you'd like. Just put November collection or something like that in the memo line, or you can, if you're live streaming and want to go online to our church website at guspokane.org, you could also just hit the donation button there and let us know what it is it's for, and we would be very grateful for your generosity. So with that, we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness inside you can make you feel so small. But I see your true color shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors, they're beautiful like a rainbow. Show me your smile then. Don't be unhappy. I can't remember when I last saw you laughing. Well, if this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, you call me up because you know I'll be there. And I see your true color shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. Your true colors, they're beautiful, ooh, like a rainbow. see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors, your true colors. They're shining through, 'cause I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors, your true colors. They're beautiful. Oh, like a rainbow.
How lucky are we? Thank you. Good morning. I would like to invite any youngsters of any age who might want to come forward for the story for all ages. Or you can stay right where you are, whatever you like. Well, as many of you know, that every third Sunday of the month is Reading Across the Lifespan Sunday, the time when our Story for All Ages celebrates reading. This month is Nonfiction November, and the Secret Readers Society reading prompt is, read a nonfiction book on the topic of your choice. Remember, this is my shameless advertisement for the Secret Readers Society. It's a different kind of a book group where you choose the book that you want to read, and you choose the topic or the genre in fiction. Sports, snakes, storms, space, sandwiches, we don't care. The idea is that we each pick something that makes us curious and then come together to share our interests and what we've discovered. No one can read all the books on a topic, but if each of us reads a little differently, we can all become just a little wiser together. My story today is about how I chose my nonfiction reading topic this month, and it's called The Night the Questions Wouldn't Sleep. It all started one chilly November night when I couldn't fall asleep. I tried counting sheep. I tried counting backwards from 100 by sevens, very hard to do. I even tried reciting my grandmother's snickerdoodle recipe. Nope, no luck. That's when I knew my brain just was not ready to power down for sleep. The question was why? So I sat up, got out my notebook, and wrote at the top of a clean page, questions about sleep. The first one was simple. Does a grandma-aged person really need 8 hours of sleep, or can I just get by with 6? Then another. If I'm not sleeping, should I get up for a while, or just lie here quietly and breathe? Then another. Why do people get so cranky when they don't get enough sleep? And more. Why do little kids fight bedtime like it's a dragon to be slain? And why do teenagers act like hibernating bears who don't want to be disturbed? And before I knew it, the questions were multiplying like popcorn. Why do we tell bedtime stories? What happens inside our brains when we dream? Do honeybees sleep, or do they take turns watching the hive? Do fish sleep in school? If bears hibernate all winter, do they ever wake up for a snack? What about owls? Do they drink coffee to stay awake all night? And what happens to people who work the night shift? When does their morning start? The more I wondered, the more I realized I could never read all the books about sleep. There are just too many wonderful questions. But then I thought, what if I didn't have to? What if each person in our community chose just one book one nonfiction book that answered a question they found interesting. Someone could read about how dreams work. Someone else could read about the science of sleep in animals. Children might read about slumbering bears in winter, which is exactly what we're going to do in RE today. A teen could learn about how sleep is necessary for a healthy, growing brain, and a grandparent might find out why it's harder to stay asleep as we age, and even better, whether or not there's something we should be doing about that. Then we could come together and share what we found. We'd each bring a little piece of the puzzle. One person's book might answer another person's question, or spark new questions for the next time. That's what makes the Secret Readers Society so special. It's not about reading the same book, it's about reading with the same curiosity. Because reading doesn't just give us answers, it leads us to more and more questions. So this month, I invite everyone, children, teens, adults, grandparents, to join in Nonfiction November. Pick a topic that keeps you awake with wonder. Read just one or maybe two books. Then bring your discoveries and your questions back to share. Also, if you happen to be interested in the topic of sleep, I've got some book suggestions for you. Together, we'll be extra ready for after the holidays when our church is looking into hosting a presentation about sleep and wellness across the lifespan. Until then, may your nights be restful, your dreams be cozy, your baby cubs turn in early, and your teenage cubs wake up cheerful. They probably won't. Most of all, may your curiosity stay awake all across your lifespan to keep you asking good questions and forever seeking better answers in good books together. All right, we can sing us out.
Thomas Merton gives us the words for this morning's meditation. One of the most important and most neglected elements in the beginning of an interior life is the ability to respond to reality, to see the value and the beauty in ordinary things, to come alive to the splendor that is all around us.
confused, will you show to me you'll be there for me and care enough to bear me? Hold me, yeah, and I will be there. Carry me, yeah, I will be there. I'm only human. Lead me, yeah, show me, 'cause I'm only human. Lift me up, up sometimes. I'm only human. Lead me, yeah, and I will be there.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy hearing my sermon at least 1/10 as much as I enjoyed hearing your music twice in one day. It's beautiful. So, the color purple, the message that my title conveys, I think, ought to be plain. Right? When mixed, blue and red, two primary colors, make purple. The two primary political parties in the U.S. are signified by red and blue. So let's remember that we all share far more in common than not. Kumbaya, sermon over. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. I think obviously making peace is a lot more complicated than that. So I'm not speaking for one thing merely about the U.S., but about political division and disputes elsewhere in the world. I'm using red and blue as a metaphor of human division everywhere and finding a way for people anywhere to live and work and progress together regardless of their differences is what purple is meant to signify. In other words, my message is intended to be far more cosmopolitan than the title suggests. And to make this point, I want to discuss the reasons why we are all far more alike than we are different, including, especially, ideologically speaking. Far more alike, ideologically speaking. But my main intention is to address how we can keep this awareness before us and the kinds of communication that our society and our world need to maintain relative calm and cooperation that's necessary for all of us to progress and prosper together. To begin, although it should not need stating, there is no such thing as different races of human beings. There are not black, brown, red, white, yellow races of humans. The slight differences and similarities in appearance between us are indicative of small genetic adaptations to the specific climates and environments inherited among various groups of people. But just as Chihuahuas and Great Danes are both dogs, no matter how different they may appear, we are all human beings, no matter how different we look, or think, or sound. Science informs us, as you've often heard me say, that there is more genetic variation between two chimpanzees living in the same troop than there is between any two human beings living on Earth. Biologists, archaeologists, paleontologists, and the like are still trying to figure out why this is so, but despite a few theories, it remains a mystery. The point here is that we are all far more related to each other than most of us realize or that some of us want to admit. Most animals do not suffer from this confusion. Or perhaps I should say, most other animals do not suffer from this confusion. Ethologists have shown that nearly all animal species possess innate mechanisms for recognizing members of their own kind. And equally important, innate inhibitions against harming them. Innate inhibitions against harming co-species. Even in species that fight vigorously for territory or dominance, these conflicts almost always stop short of lethal force. Ritualized displays, threat postures, and submission signals act as biological brakes, preventing intraspecies killing or major injury. In other words, animals are equipped with instinctual cues that both identify their co-species and protect them from harmful aggression. Humans, by contrast, lack these automatic inhibitions because our sense of who is one of us is filtered through learned symbols rather than instinct. Language, culture, appearance, ideology. So we don't have those instincts that we can withdraw recognition. Back up. Rather than having those instincts, we can withdraw recognition from another person's humanity with alarming ease. We see it every day. And once that recognition is withdrawn, the natural brakes that protect members of the same species no longer function. In his book on human destructiveness, social psychologist Erich Fromm, one of my favorites, of course, maybe my favorite, has a chapter on paleontology that's entitled, "Is Man One Species?" The answer, of course, is yes. Yet Fromm says, man does not recognize or identify co-species as easily as other animals. For him, different language, customs, dress, and other criteria perceived by the mind rather than by instincts determine who is a co-species and who is not, and any group which is slightly different is not supposed to share the same humanity. And this explains why, as he goes on to say, humans often experience and treat strangers as if they belong to another species. Among many primitive peoples, he says, even a man or of another tribe or living in a neighboring village some miles away is looked upon as a complete stranger or even not human, and hence there is no empathy for him. And this isn't so of just primitive peoples, but of primitive thinkers anywhere who feel detached from from other humans that are based, for example, on which neighborhood they live in, what school they go to, what team they root for, as well, of course, as their religion, their politics, their sexuality, the color of their skin, what country they are from, and so on. Yet there is also an innate desire in us, except for the most malignant of narcissists and sociopaths, which hopefully are relatively few, there is an innate instinct in us to want to live in relative peace, which is why, since the beginning of our time on earth, we have established religions that, at their best, require us to live in peace, especially by being kind to strangers. The Hebrew scriptures say, for example, the stranger living with you must be treated as one of your native born. Love him as yourself, for you were strangers in Egypt. Geez, maybe we could find a religion that would believe this. The Christian scriptures say, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some have entertained angels without knowing it. Jesus said, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Sikh scripture says, all jealousies have vanished in the society of saints. All are my friends now, there being no enemy or stranger. Hinduism says, let us have concord with our own people. Let us have concord with people who are strangers to us. The divine twins create between us and the strangers a unity of hearts. Buddhism says, although there are northern men and southern men, north and south make no difference to their Buddha nature. The Japanese Ofudasaki tells us, all the people of the whole world are equally brothers and sisters. There is no one who is an utter stranger. Adhering to this principle of being kind to strangers allows societies over time to widen our circles of inclusion. As Fromm put it, only in the process of social and cultural evolution has the number of people who are accepted as being human increased. Yet our instinct for stranger danger remains strong in us and isn't entirely unwarranted, which is why we still teach our kids not to speak to strangers and tell them grim fairy tales about the perils of talking to big bad wolves or accepting invitations into a delicious-looking gingerbread house. In short, no matter how relatively peaceful and prosperous a particular society might be at any given point in its history, there always remains some tension between just how much strangeness ought to be permitted. When societies are socially and economically stressed, they become less intolerant of differences and more readily blame their woes upon those most considered to be the strangest among them. In Nazi Germany, it was the Jews, as we all know, who were scapegoated in this way. Today in the U.S., as in much of the world, immigrants are being wrongly blamed and treated as subhumans. But whatever patch of ground any of us is born on has no more to do with our relatedness to humanity than do the slightest genetic differences between us. When it comes to the question of our humanity and the right to be treated with dignity, nationality is as much a fiction as race is. There are no such things as American species, Venezuelan species, Vietnamese species, Russian species, Chinese species, African species, and so forth. As Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce once said, the earth is the mother of all people, and all people should have equal rights upon it. We are all brothers and sisters. In addition to the false belief that we are divided by race and nationality, we also believe, or at least behave as if, our various ideologies make us a different species, which has too often been the greatest cause of wars and injustices between us, even more so than race and nationality. Dividing into ideological tribes, as we often call them, is the main cause of incivility in the U.S. today, as well as many other places around the world. And I don't think that I need to waste a lot of time providing any examples of this, because such incivility has become so rampant that it exists just about everywhere we turn, including, as I have seen all too often, within liberal communities and organizations. This instinct to dislike, feel threatened by, or mistreat someone who we simply disagree with has become the zeitgeist of our day. Few of us are immune to the initial sensation of disgust and fear when encountering ideas that are contrary to our own, although some of us are better at recognizing and overcoming them than others. So how do we overcome our instinctive hostility towards those we perceive as so different from us that we feel justified in mistreating them? First, as the great religions have attempted to teach us, Be kind to strangers. Not just to those from strange places, but those with ideas and ways that seem foreign to our own. Why? Because they are primarily our kin, and therefore deserve to be treated with human dignity. To do so, we must recall that we are all human beings. We are all very closely related, and we have much more in common than any of our perceived differences. Focusing on our differences is what divides us by causing us to fear and dislike one another. Seeing our similarities and relatedness is what enables us to live in peace and then to prosper together. Sociologist Amitai Etzioni's book, The Monochrome Society, is one of the clearest attempts to push back against the idea that we are hopelessly fragmented into warring cultural camps based on race, ethnicity, ideology. Drawing from large national surveys conducted by NORC, from Gallup, and other long-running opinion studies across racial, ethnic, and political groups, Etzioni shows that Americans express substantial agreement on a broad range of core values. Large majorities, often between 70 and 90%, endorse, for example, fairness in public life, equal treatment under the law, and the belief that opportunities should be widely available rather than restricted to privileged groups. Something we all share in common, or most of us do. Survey data also reveals broad consensus that personal freedom is essential, but must be exercised with responsibility and consideration for others. Similarly, high levels of agreement appear on commitments to integration, to mutual respect, and the idea that society should support those who work hard, play by the rules, and contribute to the common good. Despite our many differences, often amplified in the news and on social media, Etzioni's research shows that Americans in particular share a deep moral infrastructure, common aspirations, common expectations, and a common sense of civic obligation, which I'm guessing is true in much of the world. Many assume that people's pigmentation, or more generally, racial attributes, determine their visions, values, and votes, he says. But American culture is basically much more of one color, if one looks at conduct and beliefs rather than pigmentation and other such external skin-deep indications. But this doesn't mean there aren't also some major differences between a lot of us. Yet it does suggest the possibility that despite those differences, all of us still share a lot more in common than not. First and foremost, as I've suggested, our common humanity, our kinship, that led the sages of old to admonish us to be kind to strangers, to love our neighbors as ourselves, that we are all brothers and sisters. Even though these religions are all still around, we still haven't seemed to learn this lesson. It means we also share common needs and values that transcend red and blue, left and right, conservative and liberal, but aren't discussed much by the parties, politicians, or news media. We don't hear about those similarities as much as we do the divisions. In their now 25-year-old book, The Cultural Creatives, Paul Ray and Sherry Ruth Anderson have identified roughly 50 million American adults and tens of millions more in Europe who share a coherent cluster of values, like deep concern for the environment and global issues, a desire for social and economic justice, emphasis on relationships and community, commitment to personal and spiritual growth, and support for gender equality and the well-being of children across the globe, among others. They invest time in developing and maintaining relationships, want to be involved in making a better world, and are happy with both the left, or I should say are unhappy with both the left and right in politics, but still want something more than some mushy middle. Another thing this potentially enormous voting bloc has in common is they say they are missing self-awareness as a whole people. Each cultural creative thinks that they are alone in the world. So what would happen if this tribe of millions of cultural relatives, as Anderson and Ray described them, with the same values and worldview and life priorities, realize they exist and come together as one unified force? Thus, in addition to being kind to strangers, we must realize they may not be strangers after all. They are our biological, ideological, and ethical kin. If we go beyond our superficial differences, we have many common values and goals. And to foster this mindset, we should discover and pay attention to news and information sources that are as unbiased as possible. Certainly not from those that only provide opinions about the news that you want to hear, like those I playfully like to call faux news and BSNBC. Or CNN, considered by some to be the crisis news network. And by the way, have you ever noticed that CNN always refers to every story as breaking news? They even have a show called Breaking News, right? I mean, the whole point of the term is that a story is so urgent that it's worth breaking into your regularly scheduled program to report about. A show called Breaking News is an actual oxymoron. But I digress. I don't think it's wise, by the way, to listen to both Fox News and BSNBC, or faux news and BSNBC, if the intent is to gain a balanced viewpoint. I don't think those two extremes are going to help you meet in the middle. Nor am I suggesting that you don't watch or listen to or read sources like these at all. If you understand logical fallacies well enough, which you should because that protects you from the biases better than anything else, then you can expose yourself to them and distinguish what's happening in the world from the biased framing the so-called journalists package them in. But the problem with turning exclusively to such sources is that the news that they tend to cover is about hyped stories that divide us, not the larger challenges and problems we all share in common and should be most concerned about. In my view, for example, the lead story of every newscast and front page headline of every newspaper ought to be about how much glacier melt occurred today. How many species went extinct? How many climate change related disasters struck and how many people around the world are suffering because of them? The Epstein files, the latest high-speed live police chase, the celebrity trial, and so on, pale in comparison to what should have been the real top story day after day for decades. And if it were, perhaps we would have done something to adequately address global warming a long time ago. This point isn't another digression because the health of our planet is the greatest example there is of something that we all need and share in common. The health of the planet brings us together. But again, the point is that we must literally think outside the box when it comes to news and information. Just because it's covered extensively in the media doesn't mean it's the most important thing or the only thing for you to know and be concerned about. My rule of thumb is to ask, how does the story impact human welfare and/or individual unfolding? I rate the Epstein files low on the scale of significance. The extrajudicial killing of Venezuelan voters is a crime against humanity and ends real lives of real people. So that's higher on the scale. The rise of authoritarianism in the U.S., threatening the freedoms of us all, which we need in order to unfold as individuals, is even higher on the scale. And as noted, climate change currently is the most highest priority of all, or should be. So what I'm suggesting is that you outline your newscast. What are your concerns? What do you most care about or need to care about? What does humanity need? And then seek out reliable information about those matters. Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging. Recognizing complete neutrality is impossible. Here are some of the news sources that I recommend. The Associated Press, which is known for wire service style reporting that offers little bells and whistles, little opinion, just the basic facts: who, what, when, where, and why. The downside, again, is that humans are still determining which stories are covered. In other words, defining what's important for us to know. And they may not be chosen according to my scale of importance, according to the humanistic ethic. In other words, there may be more important stories that the AP is not covering. BBC News is rightly cited as a centrist organization with less ideological bias than many, although, as we've heard of late, it's far from perfect. So pay attention to it, just do so, as with everything, with a critical eye. PBS NewsHour also offers relatively balanced coverage of the news, although I'm not sure that the choice of what it covers is as balanced and thorough as it needs to be either. Reuters is a global agency that emphasizes what they call the trust principles of independence, integrity, and freedom from bias. I think it's really worth paying attention to a source that is at least seriously committed to and trying to adhere to these principles, unlike the fair and balanced slogan of faux news. And if you have other favorite news sources, you can also take advantage of allsides.com. That's a media bias rating tool that maps how different outlets lean. And newsguardtech.com is a browser tool that rates news sites based on reliability, transparency, and so on. So there's some tools out there to help you kind of walk through the reliableness. But one of the things I've really enjoyed, and just in recent months with a major upgrade to the Alexa app, I now add AI-generated news to my media sources. And it tends to headline whatever is in the mainstream news, but it is in just the facts kind of manner. And here's the great part: I can ask it to include news about the issues that I most care about in my daily briefing. Okay, so including climate and tech news, for example. Top stories I'm otherwise not likely to hear. And I just say, Alexa News, and it says, "Good morning, Todd. Here's your daily briefing," and launches into it. So that's a way of finding news on some of the more obscure things, or perhaps issues that should not be obscure but are obscure, that really matter most to the whole of humanity. So by turning our attention to human welfare and individual unfolding in this way, to issues like climate change and human health and economic health and global health and freedom and democracy and so forth, we are not only caring for strangers, but automatically tapping into the concerns, challenges, and even accomplishments and victories that matter to most all of us, no matter our differences. And that's the final point I want to make. That none of this has been about blending our differences together so that they go away. The color purple is about committing to live together, to work together, and prosper together, no matter our differences, because we realize that there is always so much more that we share in common. It's okay for us to identify as red and blue, because the color purple reminds us that blending does not erase our individuality. It is a call for pluralism. It enriches it. It is the hue of wisdom, of compassion, of shared purpose. So may we, as one human family, learn again to see the kinship that lies beneath the surface, to remember that we are one species, one people, on one fragile, beautiful world. Thank you.
Okay, if you could please stand and let's sing Let There Be Light.
The benediction this morning is from Lao Tzu. Because one believes in oneself, one doesn't try to convince others. Because one is content with oneself, one doesn't need others' approval. Because one accepts oneself, the whole world accepts yourself. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.